Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video of data structure algorithm series. Now in last video we talked about some theoretical part of array data structure and what it is, how do you declare it, initialize, print, and what are the problems with the array, which we discussed the size and type, right? So basically this is what we discussed in the last video. What is an array, what is contiguous location, why it was created, its declare, initialize, and all this, the operation we discussed, but we'll be implementing these operations as well. It is fast because of the contiguous location in the memory, right? Problems with the array, obviously type and size, right? We have to provide type in advance, right? We cannot store multiple type values in the same array, and we have to provide size in advance. That's why it's a static array, right? In this video we'll be getting into the implementation part, right? We'll be understanding few things related to implementation. So we'll be understanding about how it is implemented in JDK, right, in Java, and then we'll implementing those methods on our own. So let's get into content already, right? So what is an array list or global array or dynamic array, right? So array list is basically, it's the same as array, but in this one you don't have to provide size in advance, right? You can continue storing as many as values you want. It can grow dynamically, right? It can resize itself dynamically. How it's doing that we'll see. Let me cover these these four next questions, right? How does array list solve array problem, or how does array list works internally, what is default capacity or initial capacity, and what does ensure capacity does, right? So let's understand this at once and then we'll get into the implementation. So currently we are in the Java source code. We are seeing how the actual array list is implemented, right? So this array list is there in java.util package. So we saw that it can grow dynamically, right? Array list. How it does that? Using this ensure capacity method. So by default, when you create array list, right, it has a default initial capacity. So okay, so if I show you the default capacity, right, it is 10 here. So by default it creates the array list with 10 capacity, right? When you try to add more than 10 elements, right, it calls this method which is ensure capacity. What this method does basically, first of all, it creates a new capacity, which is somewhere, I'm giving you example, right? So which is, let's say, 2 times of the initial capacity. Let's say it gives a new capacity, right, which is 10 into 2, let's say 20, right? So now you have a new capacity of 20. Now it creates a new array with the 20 capacity. It copies all the elements of the old array to the new array, right? And the reference that you have for the particular array, right, now that reference points to this new array, right? So now there is no other reference which is pointing to your old array, right? In Java, when there is no reference points to any object, that objects become eligible for garbage collection. That means it gets destroyed by Java garbage collector on its automatically, right? You don't have to destroy that object or delete that object. So you understood what it is doing, right? So first of all, when you surpass the default capacity, it calls this ensure capacity method. It creates a new capacity, right? An array with new capacity, then it copies all the array from old elements to old array to new array, right? And the reference which was pointing to old array, now it's pointing to new array, which has the twice of the size, right? And now your old array becomes eligible for garbage collection, right? That is what we are doing in this grow method. If you go here, it's doing the same thing. So now so I hope you understood how array list is able to grow dynamically using this ensure capacity method, right? We'll be implementing this is also in just 2 lines, where the actual implementation is just 1 line, right? In that 1 line we'll be implementing this method, and we'll be achieving the same functionality. So yeah, there are all these methods are there, right? So we just call them based on the requirement and we just use it. Few of the important methods which I'll implement in front of you, those I'll show you as well. So I hope you understood how it is able to do it, right? So there is this indexOf method where you pass the object and it iterates to your whole array whenever it's able to find your particular object, right? It just returns your particular index. If it is not able to find, it returns -1. So that's our functionality, and we'll be implementing this method as well, along with some other methods. So yeah, you now you are. I hope you are able to get ki how they are trying to achieve this, growable array functionality, and how it is actually implemented in the real Java. This is Java 19 code, by the way. And yeah, so that's it. Let's get into the implementation. So I have created a class called as alpha ArrayList, right? So here, let's start with the declaration. I'm creating one array with as items, right? I'm not defining any size for now, right? And I'm taking one more variable just to understand what is the size of my array right now. Now I'm creating a constructor. I'm providing size in the argument, and I'm declaring that items array with this new size. Okay, basically this will be our initial size. First I'll be showing you how it is stopping us to grow dynamically, and then how it is able to grow dynamically in the array list. So now that implementation is there. Now let's implement our add method first. So public void add. Let's say we want to add this n variable, add this integer n. Let's go inside items size plus plus. I'm using post increment. I'll tell you in a while why. So what this line is doing, it is basically first putting that particular element at the size index. Currently the default value of this is 0, so it is putting at the 0 index this particular n value, and then it is doing the post increment. That means now size has 1 value. Okay, now we haven't implemented yet the ensure capacity method. I'll be showing you that. Okay, I think I can show you now itself. Let's implement the main method. Right? Now in this main method, we'll just create this alpha array list. List is equal to new alpha array list. Let's say I'm providing size of 3. Let's provide size of 2 itself. Chalo, just to get that error fast. Okay, so now let me list do list dot add. I'm adding 10 list dot add. I repeat, this whole implementation is our custom implementation. Nothing used from library, nothing, like no separate reference. Whatever we are writing from scratch, it's our own code. Okay, so now let me print as well. I don't want to use this particular variable directly. I'm just making it private. For now, for simplicity, let's have a print method. Public void print. Now you see I have created just a normal print method. which is iterating from 0 till size, and it's just printing that index value. And I have just added one space so that we can see the difference between one value to another. List dot print. So now we should be able to see 10 and 20, right? As you can see, we are able to see 10 and 20, right? So this is perfectly fine. Now let's try to do list dot add 30. So the size is 2, but we have added a third number, right? Now let's see what is the error that we are getting here. We are getting array index out of bound exception, right? This is what I was talking about. Now let's implement that ensure capacity method in one line and make this static array into a dynamic array. Let's convert that static array into a dynamic array, right? Let me show you that here itself. If so now let's implement this ensure capacity method that we declared here. Let's implement that here itself. Public void ensure capacity, and what it does basically, you have this items array, right? In we have one method of arrays dot copy of. You see, now it takes an original array and the new length, right? So what is our original array? Our original array is items. Now what is the new capacity that you want to provide? Let's say into 2, right? So size into, let's provide it from here itself, items dot length into 2. So now you see we have just written a single line, right? So what this copy of method does, I can implement that also in front of you, but just for the sake of time, I'm telling you what it does. It takes all, it creates, first of all, it creates a new array with this new capacity. It copies all the elements from this old array to the new array. And now what it is doing, basically, we are assigning that new array reference to the old array, which is items array. Now we'll try to do the same thing. Earlier you got this array index out of bound exception, right? Now let's try running it again, and just let's see what happens. See, now you're able to get 10, 20, 30, right? Let's try adding few more things, right? 40, 50, 60. So first time the initial capacity was 2, right? First time when ensure capacity was called, then this value became 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and now it should be 8. So let's have a method to get size as well. Public int size. What it does, basically, it just returns the size. Return size minus 1. The reason, okay, let's not return size minus 1, let's return size. Okay, so now what we are trying to do, we are trying to see what is the actual size of the array now, right? So we are straightforward returning this size. Let's see what is the value here. List dot size is out. Let's print this value. Now let's see what is the current value. It should be 8 ideally, right? If we did everything right. It is 6. So now it is 6. Sorry, I did a small mistake there. What this 6 is doing, it's basically increasing every single time when we are adding a value, right? So this size will give you how many items are there, what is the size of the array based on the items that you have added, right? If you want to get the actual size, right, this is the current size. Actually this is correct. If you check 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? So now if you want to get the full size of the array, for that what we will have to do, items dot length basically. Now if you try to print, right, we'll get the 8. You see, that's what I was talking about. So first time this 2 multiplied by 2, it has grown dynamically based on the items that we have added. It became 4. Then again it has grown dynamically. It multiplied the size from the older one to the new one. That means 4 into 2, 8, right? So we can implement the 2 methods as well. One to get the current size of the array, right, items that we have added, and the actual length of the array that you have, right? So we can have that as well. So what we have done in this particular video, I think the video is getting longer, so let me just explain you whatever we have done till now, and we'll continue in the next video. So what we have done, we just taken an array, we just declared an array, and we have declared a variable as size, right? In constructor what we have done, we have, whenever we are creating this our own custom array list, right, I have named it alpha array list. There we are providing the size, initial size, which is the initial capacity. If I show you in the array list, there we have this default capacity, right? Where is the default capacity? This default capacity, right? So let this 2 that we have given here, right, this is our initial capacity. Then what we have done, we have implemented an add method where we were just adding the value at the index, and we are incrementing the index by 1, right? So it was adding properly. Then we got an array index out of bound exception because it was not growing dynamically. Then what we have done, we have implemented this ensure capacity method. There we have written a single line which is doing what, arrays.copy of old array with the new capacity. What this method is doing, it is taking the older array and it is creating a array with the new capacity and assigning that reference to the older array, right? This is a O of n operation because it is copying all the elements from the older one to new one. And here what we are doing, we are just printing the elements of the array. Here we are getting the length size of the array, right? And we just added it. We have printed the size. It has grown dynamically 2 times. First time 2 into 2 4, next time 4 into 2 8, right? So that's why it became currently 8, and we are able to print all of these, right? If I convert this to items dot length, right, instead of size, you will see 2 zeros here as well. Okay, just I can show you that actually. Let me show you that items dot length. Now you are able to see those 2 elements as, you see, 0 0. So we don't print those values which are not even there in our array, so that's why I'm keeping it to size only, right? So I hope you understood, how does this array list works internally with the default capacity, all these simple methods. We'll be implementing few more methods in the next video as well. You saw how this ensure capacity is working internally in the array list, and we have implemented that as well, that too in a single line of code, right? And we have seen how it is working. This is a very simple implementation, right? You can do it barely in 10 minutes, actually 5 minutes. So in same way, we'll be understanding about all those methods in all those other data structures as well, including I'm talking about those, heap, trees, stack, queue, hash table, graphs, everything. So you see, these implementation are not actually complex. We have unnecessarily created the hype. I'll be implementing those, big algorithms as well. It will take some time, but let's understand things from the basic itself, right? You see how simple it was to implement this ensure capacity method in just one line. So yeah, I hope you understood how array grows dynamically, how this array list is implemented. And in next video I'll be implementing few more methods, and I'll be telling you about their time complexity as well. And then we'll be putting a full stop on array, including the theory implementation with the whole understanding. Then we'll move on to linked list. So hope you enjoyed this video. So see you in the next video. Then while may the source be with you. Bye bye.